When I was in high school, I was greatly interested in architecture, and after taking a drafting class, I decided to further my exploration into the field. I downloaded free architecture software and designed my own high school sports complex, with no external reward in sight, working on the complex for the pure joy of the activity itself. Now, I never pursued architecture, but this was one of the most powerful and inspiring educational experiences for me because I was fueled by my own interests, found my creative element, and developed the self-confidence and self-efficacy for tackling large projects and goals in the future. My friend Jack had a similar experience where he wanted to learn more about computers, so he taught himself coding and was able to design websites to pay his college tuition. For Jack and I, these were experiences where our aptitudes and passions propelled our learning. Yet, our projects were completed entirely independent of the school. As a graduate student, I reflected on this and asked the question that would fuel my independent graduate work and education. Why can't this learning take place within the school, for all students? How can we create opportunities, provide the resources and scaffolding, and give students that push to facilitate individual passion? Thus began my exploration on student-driven, passion-driven learning. In his TED presentation, Daniel Pink talks about companies such as Google that implement 20% time. And you may have heard of the idea before. But essentially, every Friday, employees are given the autonomy to work on whatever they want to, as long as they present their work at the end of the day. And it turns out that from this 20% time, more than half of Google's innovations have arisen. How can we bring the core elements of this model into education? What innate human potential does 20% time tap into? As I delved into the research, I identified 3 critical factors fundamental to encouraging passion and increasing academic performance: creativity, intrinsic motivation, and character. When a person is given the autonomy and purpose to master a task, they have the fuel, the intrinsic motivation to best think creatively and imaginatively, the type of thinking we want our students to be engaging in the most, whether it be science, English, history, or math. Creativity is not only an essential 21st century skill, but is also a very exhilarating way of thinking. Looking through the literature, non-cognitive factors, character strengths such as grit, sociability, conscientiousness, curiosity, and perseverance are much better predictors of academic success and success later on in life than standardized test scores. Behind these character strengths are attitudes, mindsets that all students bring to the table. What better way to encourage and develop positive thinking in our students by allowing them to be imaginative and innovative while working on something that they find meaningful? In my research, I've been amazed by just how convincing the empirical evidence for creativity, intrinsic motivation, and character are for success. I'm even more amazed by how connected these aspects are. It is impossible to think of intrinsic motivation as independent from creativity and character. Together, these 3 factors are rocket fuel for learning and success in school and after school. By intentionally seeking to promote these 3 factors together, educators adopt a pedagogical stance, a mindset and determination for facilitating student-centered learning. Next, I wanted to go further than just a pedagogical stance and explore how these 3 factors, how we can make them a reality in the classroom. I developed a student-driven learning environment at a local school to get more direct insights to the strengths and difficulties of student-driven learning. Additionally, I sought out some incredible existing programs to best discuss how to further student passion. Programs like the Future Project that empower students to engage in passion-driven projects. Programs like the Education to Professions and Careers program that give students direct experience in the career of their interests. Programs like Genius Hour that give students the autonomy to self-direct their learning every Friday, just like Google's concept of 20% time. And classes like Public Service Practicum that allow students to study society and democracy by directly engaging in service learning. Discussing education with these educators involved in these programs has revealed that there are multiple approaches to making education more student-centered. There is no one-size-fits-all model, but a shared common mindset to inspire creativity, intrinsic motivation, and character. I have just begun my career in education, but I am driven and passionate to become a teacher determined to bring the same passion that I have found in my education to the students that I will teach. I still have much to learn, and my research and this talk is by no means meant to provide an answer, but to add to the discussion for changing the educational paradigm. Again, there are multiple approaches to accomplishing this goal, but in my research, I have focused on 3 main approaches for making passion-driven learning a reality in our schools. The first approach is to apply the pedagogical stance, the mindset to promote creativity, intrinsic motivation, and character to enhance existing general curriculum. Science, math, history, and English teachers would all strive to make their lessons and classroom environment more student-centered. And many schools and many teachers already do this. Think back to the teachers you had who instilled a passion for their subject matter into you. Teachers are the most influential factors on academic performance for a student, so why not start with them? We could first work to improve what already exists by encouraging and promoting teachers and curriculum to take on the merits of creativity, intrinsic motivation, and character. The second approach is to apply the concepts of 20% time, not just to students, but to teachers. Teachers are some of the most passionate people on the planet, so imagine what they could accomplish by having the autonomy to create their own class. A music teacher that begins a music composition course. A math teacher that creates an environmental engineering course that is also tied to science and social justice. And a social studies teacher who develops a public service practicum, a service learning class as part of the social studies curriculum at his high school. Teachers bring passion and real-world experience to classes such as these, and their expertise on the subject matter ensures rigor that exceeds normal standards. Students are engaged, but also challenged. Finally, the third approach is to create an environment to encourage and support student exploration into their passions. Let's say a student is inspired by his general biology class, or another student is inspired by a teacher-created class she took and wants to pursue her passions even more. Let's provide the opportunity, resources, and structure in our schools to allow students to go for it. For example, a student who is interested in journalism, sports, and film may decide to film a high school sports game just as if it were on ESPN. Students bring to the table their own aptitudes and interests. We need to give students the autonomy, discipline, and push to go further than they ever thought they could have in school. Thank you.